What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Saturday, April 17th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 5-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Killian Hayes from the Detroit Pistons playing the Washington Wizards, who have the 3rd worst defense overall, and they give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Killian Hayes has scored 40 and 23 fantasy points in his last 2 games, playing 26 and 25 minutes. He had a 19% usage rate in both of those games. He's projected at 22 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.9 times value. He's $3,700 FanDuel salary and $300 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 228.5 points scored in this game, so fantastic matchup, high scoring game, a guy that's going to play around 25 minutes, and he's been awesome the past couple of games. Huge upside here for a low salary, for a low price tag, so I like Killian Hayes here versus the Washington Wizards. Okay, another point guard that I like is Marant from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and although they've been pretty good versus opposing point guards, Morant has averaged 34 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He scored 28, 31, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 34, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 35.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's $6,800 FanDuel salary and $200 more on DraftKings. So I like this pick because he scored 49 and 37 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Bucks, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 237 points scored in this game, so a super high scoring game. So I like Morant here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Dillon Brooks from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Dillon Brooks has averaged 26.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He scored 39, 24, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 30, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 28.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.7 times value. He's $5,000 FanDuel salary and $400 more on DraftKings. And I like this pick because he scored 55, 38, and 25 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Bucks. And we know this is going to be a super high scoring game, 237 points scored in this game. So I like Dillon Brooks here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, another shooting guard that I like is Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards playing the Detroit Pistons, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and although they've been pretty good versus opposing shooting guards, Bradley Beal has averaged 44.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 35% usage rate. He scored 40, 38, and 48 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 42, 36, and 36 minutes. He had a 38% usage rate last game, and he's projected at 45.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's $8,300 FanDuel salary and $400 more on DraftKings. So we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 228.5 points scored in this game. So I like Bradley Beal here versus the Detroit Pistons. Okay, everyone, it's time to announce the winner of our $100 weekly comment contest. And the winner is Jerry Skalberg. Jerry Skalberg, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's $100 PayPal giveaway. Please reply to our comment to collect your prize.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Saddiq Bey from the Detroit Pistons playing the Washington Wizards, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Saddiq Bey has averaged 19.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. But take a look at this. He scored 34, 27, and 38 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 35, and 31 minutes. So he's projected at 23.2 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score you 27 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's $5,400 FanDuel salary and $200 less on DraftKings. So I like Saddiq Bey here versus the Washington Wizards. Okay, another small forward that I like is Macau Bridges from the Phoenix Suns playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing small forwards. Macau Bridges has averaged 26.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. He scored 26, 1, and 26 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 20, and 32 minutes. He's projected at 26.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $5,100 FanDuel salary, and he's the same price on DraftKings. So he scored 26, 6, 28, 40, and 12 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Spurs. So this will be a tournament play only for me, but he's definitely got that 30-plus fantasy point upside, which would get him way over 5 times value. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game. So I like Macau Bridges here versus the San Antonio Spurs. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I'm going to give you a value play here. I like Rudy Gay from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Phoenix Suns, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing power forwards. But Rudy Gay has averaged 22.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 22 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 23, 19, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 21, 19, and 17 minutes. He's projected at 21.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.6 times value. He's $3,800 FanDuel salary, and he's $300 more on DraftKings. Now I like this pick because he scored 9, 30, 35, and 29 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Suns. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 230.5 points scored in this game. So I like Rudy Gay here versus the Phoenix Suns. Okay, another power forward that I like is Isaiah Stewart from the Detroit Pistons playing the Washington Wizards, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Isaiah Stewart has scored 50 and 27 fantasy points in his last 2 games, playing 31 and 21 minutes. He's projected at 22.1 fantasy points here tonight. Even though I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more here, that's still 5 times value, and he's $4,500 FanDuel salary, and he's $100 more on DraftKings. So he scored 19 and 24 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Wizards, but that's when he was playing 20 minutes per game. If he gets 30 minutes here, he should be able to crush value. So I like Isaiah Stewart here versus the Washington Wizards.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, moving on to the center position. I'm going to pay up here. I like Nikolai Vucevic from the Chicago Bulls playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have the 13th worst defense overall. And although they've been pretty good versus opposing centers, Nikolai Vucevic has averaged 46.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He scored 50, 53, and 49 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 33, and 33 minutes. He's projected at 46.1 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he's going to score closer to 50 fantasy points. That'll be way over 5 times value on FanDuel and just over 5 times value on DraftKings. He's $9,000 FanDuel salary and $800 more on DraftKings. So I like Nikolai Vucevic here versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay, another center that I like, kind of a long shot pick here, but the numbers kind of add up. So I like Brooke Lopez from the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Brooke Lopez has averaged 24 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He scored 33, 40, and 15 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 22, and 22 minutes. So he's projected at 23.8 fantasy points here tonight. I think he can score over 25 fantasy points, which would get you over 5 times value. But even at his season average of 24 fantasy points here, that would be 5 times value because he's $4,800 FanDuel salary and he's $200 more on DraftKings. So I like this pick because he scored 32, 34, and 33 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Grizzlies. And we know Vegas thinks this is going to be a super high scoring game here. 237 points scored in this game. It's a good matchup and a fast-paced game. So I like Brooke Lopez here versus the Memphis Grizzlies.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.